So you probably stumbled upon these couple of waterfalls in the first two chapters and wondered why you can't get behind them. Well, there's a secret way to actually get inside, and this doesn't just open up a couple of very awesome boss fights, but also a bunch of secret rewards, including this very awesome and very powerful weapon that seems to be one of the best among like early to mid game weapons. So I'm going to show you the full guide on how to unlock these as well as all the rewards, so let's jump right in. Now, to dispel these waterfalls in the first place, you will need to get a special item, which you can only do so from the start of Chapter 2, and specifically by heading over into the Valley of Despair. But to reach that point, I'm going to show you the route starting from the village entrance. So from the village entrance, simply follow the same route as I am. We're going to avoid these enemies by just keeping it to the right side and just circling the entire area until we reach what appears to be this larger gate right here. Initially, it is closed, but once you open it, this will lead you into this larger field. Now, if this is the first time getting here, you're going to have to defeat a duo boss encounter, which is going to, be rather challenging at this stage, but that's why I recommend starting with the smaller boss. And eventually, if you do manage to take both of them down, this is going to drop this item right here, a pungent flesh chunk, which we're going to need to summon a different boss to help us with the next stage. Now, from this point on, you're just going to want to head over to the left side and just unlock that Valley of Despair waypoint. This is going to give you a permanent waypoint and a way to reach the next destination. Because from this point on, we're going to head over through the nearby cave system and specifically keep it to the left side right here, circle around it a little bit, and then jump onto the platform below. Now, if you look behind you, there's a wall with a small little bumpy section that appears it can be breakable, but you need a very strong ability to do so. So there are a couple of ways in which you can do this. So either A, go ahead and use the flash chunk we just got to summon the first prince of the flowing sands, which you do by the edge of this cliff. Once you throw the meat, he's going to pretty much spawn in. Now, he has an attack that you can bait, which is this jump leaping attack, so you can just stay in front of the wall, and if he jumps in, he's going to have a pretty big chance to pretty much break that wall open. However, if you're like me and defeated the boss before this and watching this video, another thing that you can do is simply use the Wandering White summon that you got literally from the first boss in Chapter 1. This can work just as well as pretty much any other heavy similar hit. Once you do open that up, you can go inside. You're going to notice there's a chest as well as a tapestry in the background. And if you open that chest, you're going to get this Loong Scale right here, or Loong Scale. This is basically the item that we need to open up all of those waterfalls. But now that we got the item, the next bit is going to be back into Chapter 1, specifically starting at the outside of the forest waypoint. So simply start here and then ignore the enemies, keeping this route to the left side. We're going to continue to follow this narrow path up until we reach this before the bridge junction. And we're gonna again take it to the left side. You can already see there's that waterfall in the background. So again, a simple step over there. And once you reach here, there's only a couple of enemies standing in your way. As well as now having a button prompt that pretty much lets you interact with it and completely dispel it. And this is now going to give you access to the first secret encounter inside, which is against this really awesome dragon boss right here. Absolutely cool. The red long boss, which also has a lot of electric damage. Now, as we talked about in today's stream, you can go ahead and use the thrust stance, which is better suited for this boss encounter because it also has a ton of dodges baked into it. There are typically a bunch of leaps that this boss tries to do on you, so be careful about that and try to preemptively dodge. It actually lands a bit sooner than you think. Also pay attention to its tail sweep because that's going to deal a ton of damage, but otherwise is easily avoidable. And he oftentimes also leaves behind some of these lingering sparks that will detonate after a few seconds, so very, very careful about that. Once you got the boss stunned, you're going to want to immediately jump in and do attacks against these contraptions on its back. If you manage to destroy just one of them, they are going to explode, dealing a huge amount of damage to its HP. But the moment that happens, or the moment the boss wakes up, immediately disengage and move far away from it, because more often than not, it's going to charge up one of these very strong AoE electric attacks, which at that stage in the game can pretty much one-shot you. And that's pretty much it. Rinse and repeat. Do this 3 times and then maybe even incorporate a summon, and by the end of it, you should be done with the boss fight. which is then going to unlock this chest right here. It's also going to give you a bunch of resources, including the long pearl, which you will need to craft that weapon we just talked about. Plus, you also get one of its first components, which is the Thunder Tail. Additionally, you also get the Tiger Tally, which is a pretty good talisman. It gives you about 15% extra damage reduction when you don't have any healing charges left. Plus, you unlock the new recipe to craft the Loongwreathe staff. A very strong one, comes with 70 attack, which is really good at that stage, plus a moderate increase in damage to literally all of the pillar stance moves. Now, the first time you're going to unlock this recipe, you're probably going to notice that its second component is missing, also outlined with a red color, plus featuring a bunch of question marks. And that is because we're going to find it from a second similar encounter, also behind a waterfall, this time around a bit further into chapter 2. Now, from this point on, you're going to want to head over and unlock the second waterfall and the second boss, which is going to be at the Rock Rest Flat. Just progress a bit further into that second chapter up until you reach this point. And from here, you're going to notice that there's a bunch of stairs leading up right next to the waypoint, with that waterfall right there sitting in the background. And once you get close to it, once again, you can interact with it, dispel that spell, and once you go to the other side, you're going to notice the second boss spawning, which is the Black Long. Kind of funny of a name over there, but again, it's an electric type enemy. The only type of attack you should be worrying about over here is his very annoying ground pound attack, which he's going to do once you see his electric mouth starting to open, and then he's going to start doing this double series of pounds in the ground. So the way to dodge this best is to just disengage as far as possible to the opposite side of the arena, which is going to give you a lot more breathing room and time to react, but also try not to do like what I just did and dodge into the shockwave, not away from it. Otherwise, you just get the full brunt force of the damage. Rinse and repeat while trying to avoid incoming damage. This is going to unlock a second long pearl, as well as the second and final chest. This one is also going to give us the Thunder Bone, which is the second material that we need, as well as a Tridagna pendant. Now, this pendant is actually going to provide us about a 4-second cooldown reduction to all of our skills, which is pretty nice, can be really useful early on. But now that you're done with that, you can go ahead and just craft that Loongwreathe staff, assuming that you also have some other refined iron sand. For the refined iron sand, you're going to start finding it the more you progress into chapter 2, and especially at the start of chapter 3, you're going to really start noticing it dropping both from boss enemies, but even more so from treasure chests. So just open up treasures, defeat bosses, and you should get at least the few ones that you need to fully craft the weapon. As far as the weapon goes, like I said, it buffs all the pillar stance moves, and there are a couple of them here that are really devastating, including the Sweeping Gale as well as the Churning Gale follow-up. So this is actually very good against larger groups of enemies, but you will need a bit more stamina to make the most out of it. Even if you don't stay too much in the Sweeping Gale or in its Gale Blessing follow-up, you can just do the follow-up of the Churning Gale with another heavy attack follow, which is going to do this really cool jump and sweep attack. Plus, this can be very good if you just want to avoid AoE ground damage. Like I said in my beginner's guide video, you can avoid literally all ground damage, assuming nothing just lands on you from the sky. Then it's a whole different problem. Now, quick tip over here, because I've seen quite a number of players actually missing the very first transformation in the game, which I can't believe that can happen, but here you can find it in chapter 2, again at the same outside of the forest waypoint. So from this point on, instead of heading towards the waterfall, we're going to just follow the same route, going by the same narrow path, and once we reach the bridge area, this time around we're going to go past the bridge. There are some annoying enemies here to deal with, but if you go past them and just go straight ahead, you're going to eventually reach this smaller boss area, and if you just go ahead and defeat it, it's going to drop that fiery staff, which you can simply go ahead and grab off the ground. And like I said, this will carry you through the first stages of the game. It's very useful even into the mid to late game. Can be also further buffed, so it provides quite a lot of damage. A very useful option to have, especially against enemies that are very weak against fire or burn effects. You should definitely try to set enemies on fire, as that's going to deal a huge amount of damage over time. And that is pretty much it with the video. Let me know down below if there's any other cool things that you've discovered or secrets. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and until next time.